From the golden fields of Saturday glory, strap on the helmet and into the huddle. It's Mr. Gridiron.
Yes, in coverage I'm playing press. You can text, but if it ain't looking right, I'm swiping left. Next.
Boy, don't hate the player, hate the game now. Killing it just won't be the same now. Boy, I'm balling hard in the pain now. Boy, I'm balling hard in the pain now. Boy, don't hate the player, hate the game now. Killing it just won't be the same now. Boy, I'm balling hard in the pain now. Boy, I'm balling hard in the pain now.
What is up, everybody? This is Mr. Gridiron, aka Thomas Christopher, here with another episode of Mr. Gridiron. I believe this is episode 17 now. For those wondering, this actually is probably the first and potentially only non-live show that we're going to have, just because there's some stuff going on this morning. Obviously, the studio's been having some issues with recording, so I'm here at the home, and I'm actually having some HVAC guys come fix AC, and they should be here around the time the show normally starts. So we're going to try to get this one in and done before they end up showing up here. With that being said, we do have an excellent show this morning. We'll go through our morning huddle in a little bit. The Sorsby Saga, Brendan Sorsby Saga has officially ended for now. And we're going to do some film review on Temple tight end Peter Clarke, who I'm a massive fan on. But before we get into any of that stuff, please make sure to click that like button. It's completely free to do so. Helps the channel out greatly. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you like college football content, share it to your friends and family. If they like college football content, they're going to like this show. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on X, Twitter, if you're watching on any of our other channels, whether it's through Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, or iTunes, please make sure to click that like button, leave a review on the podcast and show, or feel free to leave a comment. I do appreciate that. And if you're watching this show, because it's not live, if you do leave a comment, give me about 48 hours, and I will make sure to get back to you. But before we get into all of that, the good stuff that we're doing, let's just get into this morning's morning huddle.
Put the ball! Let's go, family on three! 1, 2, 3, family!
So some unfortunate news over the weekend is two former Wheaton College football players drowned in Lake Michigan. That was one Philip Lochirko and Jalen Schaefer. Both were teammates on the Wheaton College football program, both in their 20s. Very unfortunate loss of life. You never want to see that happen. Steve Sarkisian, this is interesting news, where Steve Sarkisian has said he would not be surprised if Arch Manning returned to Texas University in 2027. Whether that happens, I have some doubts, because I'm pretty sure Arch is going to be QB1 in the draft, kind of no matter what, based on name value. But we shall see, right? It's also been announced that TQL Stadium is going to host a game versus Cincinnati and Miami of Ohio on September 19th. That should be a fascinating matchup, but old rivalry. Should be a good game. Cincinnati should probably win that one, though. South Carolina dismisses running back Sam Williams-Dixon from the program. This comes after charges of grand larceny and criminal conspiracy have been tried. He was released actually on Sunday and is no longer a part of the program. And for those who were wondering, there's a reason why the college football playoff has been talking about 24 teams, but coming from multiple sources now. It's said, and this is through a Fox News article, is that ESPN does not want the college football playoff to increase to 24 teams. They prefer a 12-14 team playoff with a max of 16. However, the Big 12, ACC, Notre Dame, and I believe it's the Big Ten now as well, have all shown their support for 2014 playoff. The only one that has not yet at this time is the SEC, and that is because the SEC is usually very hesitant on making changes. Just look at their lack of playing midweek games as a standard for that, for tradition and all that other stuff. With that being said, this has been our morning huddle. So let's get to biggest news of today's episode.
Put the ball. Let's go, family on 3. 1, 2, 3, family.
Now, Wednesday's episode means the Morning Blitz, and on this week's Morning Blitz, we're going to be talking about something that we've talked about kind of extensively more than once. Even, one of our previous episodes, we were talking about this, and that is the Brendan Sorsby saga that potentially has now reached its end. Well, I guess that. I apologize. There's a delay there for some reason. I'm not sure what happened with the cutaway. But yeah, Brendan Sorsby saga seems to be coming to an end as Sorsby has now entered his name for the 2027 supplemental draft for the NFL. This comes after the Big 12 decided that they were going to sue Texas Tech if they allowed Sorsby to play. And we're going to have an article by Ross Dellinger up in a second. We're going to go over some stuff because there's a couple articles here that I wanted to talk about. And this, from Ross Dellinger, as I said, from Yahoo Sports, on Monday evening, one of the Big 12 commissioners found a squirrel happy as it came to a close. Okay, so this is what Yormack said. He's a Big 12 commissioner. It's been a challenging week for both our conference and the college athletics landscape. The Big 12 looks forward to moving ahead as 16 strong. We wish Brendan Sorsby success in future endeavors. Now, the global firm Sidley Austin helped orchestrate the Big 12's groundbreaking legal complaint in a Monday morning federal document. So we're going to show that tab as well. This is again by Ross Dellinger. It was a 47-page complaint against Texas Tech, the Texas Attorney General, the system's chancellor, the school president, and athletic director in seeking declaratory judgment in a preliminary injunction to enable it to enforce its bylaws. Landmark case, the league filed it legally against one of its members, which normally doesn't happen. The Big 12 is asking a federal court to bar Texas Tech and the state's Attorney General, Ken Paxton, from preventing the conference from, quote, exercising its right under its bylaws to sanction Texas Tech. The league is not seeking damages, nor is it challenging a state court ruling deeming Sorsby eligible. Instead, they asked a federal judge to permit it to take action against the Red Raiders in light of legal threats made from the Texas Attorney General, whose letter to the league last week seems to have triggered the Big 12's filing. The letter from Paxton's office demanded that the league refrain from exercising its governance authority, characterizing any sanction as an antitrust violation and threatening joint liability against the conference. That is incredibly fascinating. That's just fascinating. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then perhaps most notably, like I said, this is an article from Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports. The complaint lays out the conference's intention to sanction Texas Tech if it were to play Sorsby, who is obviously acknowledged betting. And I know they keep saying while at Indiana, but he was betting at Cincinnati, so I'm not sure why they keep hosing down the Indiana point unless they're trying to find a way to weasel Indiana to get punished here. According to the filing, Big 12 conference officials, university presidents, and athletic directors have requested that Tech not play Sorsby, but, quote, TTU has not agreed, which we've already talked about a little bit. And then the complaint obviously said the potential sanctions the board could consider under the bylaws include monetary sanctions and a ban on competing in the Big 12 championship game, which Texas Tech would likely have been in this season if they had Brendan Sorsby playing. This is all about the complaint pretty much that the Big 12 filed. Like I said, this was on Monday. So this was probably around the time this Monday show was going on. And this actually happened right after the show aired. So we're going to go back to the previous article we were looking at. And funny enough, I think Ken Paxton is kind of the reason why Sorsby and them decided to take the draft route, because Texas Tech made that big, huge statement regarding Sorsby and why they thought he should play and be deemed eligible and all of this stuff. So it's just incredibly fascinating. Tom Mars, a noted attorney from recent college football case, college sports cases, most against the NCAA. He said, in 40 years as a lawyer, I've never seen such a devastating legal filing come out of left field. It was as creative as anything I've ever seen. And this comes quite literally in the dark of night. So the Austin attorneys made the filing on behalf of the Big 12 in the Northern District of Texas Federal Court in Dallas, filed at 1 a.m. Okay, so this is on Monday at or around 7 a.m. So this was actually around when the show started, Monday. Yormack informed Texas Tech president of the complaint in a courtesy phone call. Later that day, Chovanec joined the other Big 12 presidents and chancellors in a scheduled call about the situation. After speaking to the group about his side, he left a call with the remaining 15 presidents to discuss options to sanction the school, and including the monetary fine and conference championship game, which we just talked about. In addition to the Big 12's filing on Monday, the NCAA and its team of lawyers filed with Texas State Court on an emergency appeal that encouraged the court to delay its ruling on Sorsby and to expedite an appeal decision before the college football season began. Or else, the NCAA filing said the court will, quote, teach all athletes when you break the rules and receive discipline, the solution is not to take responsibility, but to find a different umpire, which, I mean, that's literally what was happening. So now Brendan Sorsby has decided to take the supplemental draft route because basically everybody in the Big 12, including the Big 12 and the NCAA, was basically like, hey, if this guy plays, you guys will never have any ability to do anything. Both Kansas and Utah attorneys general publicly released letters sent to the Big 12 in support of the conference, sanctioning Texas Tech and criticizing Paxton's letter as inaccurate and filled with unfounded claims. University of Michigan canceled the volleyball matchup scheduled with the school, the latest program to prohibit contests against Texas Tech in light of its intention to allow player to compete after admitting to betting on his own school. That final on his own school, those final 4 words, they don't really mean much. I mean, just the fact that he was betting alone should be the issue here. It shouldn't be bet on his own team. It should just be he's betting on the sport, considering, and this is the thing, since they keep trying to bring up the Indiana thing, he barely played at Indiana, especially his freshman season, he barely played. That's when they say that, like, all of this started. So for them to keep honing in on that, I really think they're trying to do something to Indiana. I don't think it's going to work out for them, but it is what it is. Now we're going to go to another article. This is by ESPN's Dan Wetzel. And I wanted to talk about this because this is something that we've discussed on the show. Brendan Sorsby is done with college sports. Can local judges be next? I want to see if Schefter has anything.
And he also would have to withdraw his litigation.
Okay, so we're gonna go through the supplemental draft breakdown that they have Adam Schefter breaking down here. I just want to listen to this. This is from the Pat McAfee show. So we'll see how this is.
Well, it would have to be a hardship case basis. In this particular case, Brendan Sorsby obviously is ineligible to play this year at Texas Tech, and so he would like to go to the NFL. So the plan right now is for him to apply for the supplemental draft, but he has not done that. He has until, as you mentioned, next week to officially apply for the supplemental draft. Again, he has to do that, and he also would have to withdraw his litigation, which currently is outstanding right now. So there are 2 steps that he would have to do, and then the NFL would have to sign off on there actually being a supplemental draft. So he could say he plans to be in the supplemental draft, but the NFL still has to sign off on a supplemental draft, and that decision is up to the commissioner. It is within his jurisdiction to decide whether or not there would be a supplemental draft this year. If there is a supplemental draft this year, it likely would be held in the back half of July, and then we'd see which of these teams, as you mentioned in that tier system, would wind up picking Brendan Sorsby. The one thing that's interesting, Pat, is that a lot of the teams that people think need quarterbacks have gone ahead and drafted rookie quarterbacks. So the Cleveland Browns that you brought up, they drafted Taylor Green, who they like. The Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Drew Aller, who they like. The New Jets drafted Abe Klubnik, who they like. There are teams out there that drafted rookie quarterbacks already. The Arizona Cardinals drafted Carson Beck. They like him. And so, again, somebody is going to roll the dice on a player as talented as Brendan Sorsby, who plays the quarterback position, who some felt might have had a higher grade in this draft than Ty Simpson, who went number 13 overall to the Los Angeles Rams. So there's always going to be the need and an interest in a quarterback who's got his type of skill set, who can run around, who can make throws with accuracy. There are the character questions. And someone's going to pick him. Someone, I think, will pick him.
And I don't think that Schefter is really wrong there. Somebody will pick him, but the problem is if somebody does pick him, they have to basically keep in mind everything that's happened to this point, right? Because the next time if Sorsby gets caught gambling again, now remember he's made over $90,000 worth of bets in 4 years. A lot of those were just little $1, $2 parlay type of things, little cheap bets. But obviously there's some more involved to that. I would love to see what the gambling history looks like on that to get a better idea of how concerned people should be. But point being, if he gets caught gambling again, like he's done, period. So does that limit how many teams go after him? If the NFL decides to have the supplemental draft, does that limit that? As Schefter mentioned, some of those teams, the Jets, the Browns, the whoever's, a lot of them took quarterbacks already. Does that stop them from going after Sorsby again with a supplemental draft where they still have to give up picks for that? That is where it becomes the gray area, right? At least in terms of the draft, is there going to be a team that really wants to basically make that big of a risk on a guy that, and Schefter mentioned this, he was potentially going to be a better prospect than Ty Simpson in terms of the NFL draft, right? However, does that talent really, when is the talent not enough? He's still, he would be a rookie, right? He's going to be a rookie. And it's just, it's very fascinating. It's very fascinating to see how that is going to shake out because there's so much at stake, not just for Sorsby, but for the team who picks him. For Sorsby, this is his last chance. He can't make another mistake in terms of gambling, period. Again, whether or not he gambles on other sports, I'm not really sure how that's covered in the NFL. It also doesn't help that the NFL and all these places just plaster gambling ads and partnerships all over the place. So that's a little hypocritical to me. They desperately have to change that and just get out of this mindset where everything is worth a gamble and prediction markets and all of that nonsense just needs to really be nipped in the bud. However, for the NFL teams on that side, do they want to risk that? I mean, it'll be fascinating. But anyway, I wanted to. I didn't expect to see that little video. I didn't click this article for the video. I clicked the article for something else. But like I said, this is a Dan Wetzel article from ESPN. And so now that the Sorsby article, the Sorsby saga's over, something positive can still come from this. Then he says, quote, other than the billable hours for white shoe law firms. Nice little tongue-in-cheek joke there. Naming college athletics needs to get local judges and their temporary injunctions out of the game. Something that we have discussed on this show already, hilariously enough. And this is, again, from Wetzel, from ESPN, Dan Wetzel. Brendan Sorsby's college career should have been over the moment he acknowledged he bet some 9,000 times on sports, including about 40 on Indiana while a member of the football program. See, they keep saying Indiana, but Cincinnati, I need to know why Cincinnati just keeps getting, ignored in this case. We'll talk about that at some point, but Cincinnati is not innocent. That much I know. And I'm very curious. And this is the thing. If he was betting on Indiana while he was there, why wouldn't he bet on Cincinnati when he was there? There's just something fishy there. And then, except along came Texas judge Ken Curry, just decided to buy Sorsby's legal argument that he should play this season. Obviously, Curry granted the decision for Sorsby to be eligible, but obviously that didn't happen. And it's kind of insane because Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton kind of messed things up when he threatened legal action against the Big 12. I think that helped lead the way for this to happen, and it probably shouldn't have happened, which is just, the whole thing is just insane. We're in an insane spot. The point being, college sports needs to do the most to see the collective opposition here, to push federal government to put an end to governance by local courts. To be honest, I don't think government should be involved, period, in college sports. The fact that it is just shows the ineptitude of the NCAA, but I digress. The days of conferences having to ask federal judges for the right to enforce its integrity bylaws needs to end. That's true. Nor should every player, coach, or school be able to win injunctions against nearly any decision they don't happen to like. I also agree with. College sports are plagued by judicial governance, extra seasons of eligibility, which we've seen multiples of already, 2-week temporary restraining orders, midseason EuroLeague acquisitions. And he makes a nice little comment here. These days, you don't need to recruit a 5-star quarterback. You need a 5-star judge. Completely true. Plaintiffs don't even have to actually win their cases. They just have to convince a judge they have a case, and that holding them out of competition while the process drags out would cause irreparable harm, which is another tactic that, these teams like to use when they do go to the local judges. By the time the actual case is set to be tried, the season's over and the file is dropped. It's a dishonest workaround causing chaos, which is completely true. Currently, there are multiple efforts in Congress to save college sports, which is, there are sprawling bills, complicated and filled with pet projects and strawmen, which is not necessarily wrong either. But what still makes the point, which we've talked about and agreed with multiple times on the show already, is that litigation and just using judges and everything, like the fact that that's happening in college football is just insane. We got to be honest and just look at things as how they are. And this entire issue with Sorsby could have just been stopped if the NCAA had any type of authority. But all they've shown is that they don't have any type of authority. Because if you have to rely on, and this is the thing, this is another thing too. The fact that this whole thing stopped because the Big 12 opted to sue and file against Texas Tech, and that's what changed things. That actually doesn't bode well for the NCAA, because all it shows is that the autonomy conferences are autonomy conferences, and they don't need the NCAA to come in and set things right, or create a standard or rules, because obviously they can't govern themselves. But the autonomy conferences are showing that they can govern themselves, and that speaks poorly for the NCAA. Like I said on the last episode, no matter what happens out of this case, whether Sorsby actually does go into the supplemental draft or whatever happens with him, because he's no longer going to be playing this year, it doesn't matter, because the hit that the NCAA took might be too big for them to crawl back out of, especially when we've talked about before the SEC and the Big Ten already exploring their own self-governing opportunities outside of the NCAA. And we already know once that happens, the ACC is going to be pretty much right behind them. And if that happens, the Big 12 is going to follow suit. The NCAA is only good in name only right now. They have to figure out a way that they can actually stop. Like, they have to figure out a way without the government having to be involved 24/7, where they can stop, they can enforce the bylaws and everything else that's going on, and actually be able to govern the conferences, because they're showing that they can't. And that's the biggest problem that we have right here. That's why this whole thing was an issue, because they couldn't govern themselves. They have, local judges getting involved, which is ludicrous to me. What should be said by NCAA should be law in terms of what happens, and the fact that they can just get skirted around that through legal loopholes and things of that nature it just shows that the NCAA isn't properly prepared for things like this. And this isn't going to be the only time something like this happens. It's just the most recent case. So with that being said, Sorsby is expected to be in the NFL supplemental draft. Whether a team decides to take a big risk on him, that remains to be seen. Obviously, he's going to be the biggest name in the supplemental draft if the NFL decides to have one. Whether or not, the Jets of the world, the Browns of the world, teams that have already taken quarterbacks decide to take the risk on him again, that remains to be seen. I have some doubts about that. I think it's going to be a team that's already kind of established that takes a shot on him, to where if they lose a later pick anyway, not necessarily as big of a deal as for a team that is going to have to give up a higher pick just to have Sorsby on the roster. So there's going to be some fascinating stuff on that end that we're just going to keep an eye on, because to be honest with you, I just don't know how much is going to change in that end. But we'll see. Things could be fascinating. But this is supposedly the end of the saga for now. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Things can change every day. It's been 3 days and we've already have massive changes in terms of what has happened. So we shall figure it out and we shall see. But I don't want to hash on that too much because we do got a little bit of a film review before we get out of here. So let's get into our film room flash. So if you're new to this show, we do every episode, we do a film room flash segment highlighting a college football player, a series of plays, things of that nature. And the kicker is I don't look at the film until we do it on the show. I like to break it down with you guys as we're watching it. It's going to feel a little different doing it on a pre-recorded show as opposed to a live show where I can get comments and stuff like that. But we're going to do it anyway. So in today's episode, we're actually going to be highlighting a tight end that I'm a really big fan of, and he's kind of flying under the radar, is Temple University's Peter Clarke. And Peter Clarke is a guy that he's good, man. He's a good receiver. He's a good blocker too. So we're going to take a look at his film and see what we can break down and just get a glimpse of Peter Clarke. And this is from Bengals Brews. On X/Twitter, you guys can follow them highlighted right here so you guys can see. We're going to go full screen. And just going to highlight some plays, right? He's in a shotgun set. He's in line. And this is probably going to be a blocking play. So we're going to run through full speed and see what we get. Yep. Oh, these are quick cut-ups. Okay. So we're going to go half speed. We might go half speed for everything. So just looking at the first one, look at extends arms. A little out of position. So I don't necessarily like that play. He got thrown out of position there. If that was a run rep and they ran his side, he probably would have lost that one. Here's another one where he is playing it in a slot roll on the formation. He's blocking again. This time it's a little bit better. Some steady, strong hands gets him out of the position. Another one this time. He is in line again. The first tight end in line next to the left tackle. Strong hands, not great leverage because he's a massively tall guy. Just strong hands, though. In line again here. This is better. This is a pass blocking rep. He actually did better there, and he did a release there too. Not bad. Another inline rep here from Peter Clarke. Another pass blocking rep. He does a good job here against the edge. I'm a fan of that. His pass blocking reps have looked better than his run blocking reps, which is fascinating. Another one here, obviously circled in the yellow. Runs across the formation. Goes a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage than I'd like, but breaks the tackle there, gets him a yak. Great play. There's another one where he was in motion. He's going to be running a little curl. Yeah, just great. That's one of the things I really enjoy about Peter Clarke is just his ability to know where to go, especially on certain route depths and things like that. Just the things he can do. Good hands, too. The ball's low and away. Still grabs it. Takes 4 guys to bring him down. Here's another inline rep from him. This is a blocking rep. This is a lot better. A lot better of a blocking rep. Pancakes. Inline rep again. And that's the other thing I like about Clarke is he goes inline a lot. But he's a great receiving tight end too. So it's just good to have. This one does a nice little push. Stays on his guy. Does just enough, by the way, to get that room in there. And then another pancake. This one seems like he was in the formation movement. He's going to run more of like a – yeah. Look at that, man. He just knows where to go. He just knows where to sit in zones. He, knows where he needs to be. He understands his leverages and the concepts on defense. There's a run block. Good enough. Strong. I guess the thing, kid's strong. He's when he's in a slot role. I love the little hip sway that he did there. Fake like he was running a deeper route. Just sits down. He knows what he's doing. I think there's another one too. Yeah, this is one from the NFL draft files that Sleeper just stole and didn't give credit to. Did they even give credit to the guy? Of course not. Not surprised at all. Anyway, you can find this guy right here, NFL_DF draft files. Another inline rep. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my God. And the strong hands, man. They just keep trying to hit at the hands. That is a great play. We're running that back. This is inline, and he's just gonna run and go. He's running and go from fake stuff. He's gonna block there. Just does just enough to get this. Look at that. Strong hands. The ball's a little high. For some reason, the defensive back attacks the ball, not the player. Maybe he gets hit and doesn't catch it. Instead, still keeps it going. Look at, they're trying to pick at the ball. This kid's just running. He's dragging guys. 10 yard. Hold on. Let's see where he starts dragging people at the 45. Right. So right now he's already dragging 10 yards. This is 10 yards, 15 yards, almost 20 yards. He's dragging defenders. He's another inline rep. He's playing on the strong side of that side, or weak side rather. That's what we're gonna call it. That. Oh my God, what a filthy route by a tight end, bro. Oh my Lord. This guy's a tight end. Look at. He understands the leverage. Whoop. Fakes him out, man. Easy pitch and catch touchdown. Easy. This guy's insanely good. In line again. He has the speed where he's going to beat linebackers, the strength where he comes down with some of these catches. His hand strength is insane. This is another angle of that same play. Just look at that. Goes up and gets it. Not afraid. Boom. Big play. He's big play. In line again, right there where the circle is. And he's just going to run a crossing pattern. I already knew that. Stays through the contact. That's a flag and a touchdown. Just strong. This time he's in line again. And just running and go. No, this one he's untouched. Like that couldn't get it any easier. That one's a little easy. I don't know if we'll highlight that one. That was a little too easy. But this is time he's in the slot. And this is the thing I love about him is that he can play both in line and in the slot. That's what makes me like him even more. He is a polished tight end, Peter Clarke is. Keep an eye on him. This time he's in the slot. Yep, they run cross. A little natural pick, but it's now they're in the zone. He's like this. Look at the strength on his hands, dude. That's insane. This shouldn't even have been thrown to him. The fact that was thrown and he caught it is insane. Now we have him in line, below the line of scrimmage. And Temple did a good job of doing a lot of fake runs like this to get guys open too. Just running a go off the fake. The deception there. This is another one where he's going to block and he's going to release. It's just wide open. Knows where he needs to go. So much green. So much green. Usually you see him get more yak there. This is another one. Going to be blocking. Look at that. Strong block that time. I believe this is against, it's either against UTSA or Oregon State. I couldn't tell. Probably UTSA. I believe this is, I think this is against Charlotte. And he's in the slot here. I'm just going to run a quick out, in, whatever you want to call it. Just knows where to sit in the zone. He just knows what he's doing. Like this is, they're playing a zone coverage. Charlotte is. He just knows where to go. He understands what he's doing. He's a high IQ guy, man. Very high IQ guy. This time he's in line. Good block. Strong block. I just like, you gotta like what you see. And then again, this is a UTSA. Strong block. Does enough to get the ball. I mean, questionable pass there, but seals that lane. Good block. Like this is what I'm saying, man. This guy's good. I've been a fan of him for a bit now. Look at that. Nice little fake. Now he's going to block for his quarterback. You got to make sure he holds it. Yeah, good block. And he keeps going. Plays till the whistle. That's what you want to see out of a kid. This time he's running a little out. Yeah, easy for the touchdown. I guess the thing, he'll fight too. He fights for yards. He's not just going to go down across the formation this time. Holds the block, creates the lane for the quarterback. Probably easy first down run. And line again. This is the thing with Temple is they run a lot of plays like this where they fake that they're going to run a sweep kind of rush and they end up throwing it. This time he's on the outside and he's going to be blocking for a nice little screen. The block's great. I don't know where the rest of his linemen were. Great block, though. That's what I'm saying. I'm just a massive fan of Peter Clarke, man. We're going to see if there's anything else I can watch on him before we get out of here. Because I love his game. I don't know if he was, and this is from Brian Gavin. I just want to see if this is all the same plays we've already seen or if it's a little bit different. And it's running on extra fast speed for some. Yeah, we've seen these already. Okay. But yeah, Peter Clarke, it's hard not to be impressed by the kid. He's fantastic in the American Conference. Temple with Casey Keeler, he's going to find ways to get him the ball even more, considering he's another year into the system. Keep an eye on Peter Clarke, man, because he's just going to be really good. And that was he's the focal point of this episode's from Room Flash. All right. So like I said at the top of the show, this is one of the rare pre-recorded episodes. Normally we'll always be live next month. We might see some pre-recorded episodes as well as we go through the media days for the ACC and a couple other conferences. So keep in mind on that. Stay tuned for that stuff. With all that being said, it's been a good show. Click that like button if you're watching. Feel free to do so. Completely free to do so. Helps out the channel a lot. If you like the episode, make sure to share it. If you're watching on YouTube, wherever you're watching this episode, share it if your friends, family like college football. You're going to like the show a lot. Normally, we're in a nice little studio, but we've had some issues there, so we're in the blank screen background, fuzzy background stuff. So I appreciate everybody's patience on that end. With that being said, we highlighted the Brendan Sorsby saga. We highlighted Peter Clarke's film room session, which is fantastic. And we talked a little bit about the NCAA again, kind of being in a gray area for what their future could look like. With that being said, we're about to get up on out of here. As you know, Wednesday shows are usually a lot shorter than the other ones. But Friday's show, we'll have a lot of stuff to break down as well. We'll have some interesting topics to cover. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. With that being said, this is Thomas Christopher, Mr. Gridiron. I am out of here. You guys can always follow me on Tommy CFB, whether it's on X, Twitter, or on Instagram. And I appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. Means the world to me. So thank all of you for checking out this week's episode, and we'll see you on Friday.